Okay, now, remember you guys are doing number 3 and number 4 from the section 2.4 handout. And we're actually going to skip number 5. Number 5, what I want you to be able to do is interpret what slopes mean. And we did that in the section 2.3 handout and on the word problem that we did. And we should do it on the hot dog problem also. Remember to ask me in class about the hot dog problem. But the one on number 5 is just not very good, so we're going to skip it, and we'll practice interpreting slopes other places. Okay, so we're going to go straight to number 6. And before we can do number 6, 7, and 8, we have to learn a new definition. And that definition is average rate of change. So let me write that down. Average rate of change. Okay. Basically, average rate of change is the slope between 2 points. The average rate of change is the slope between 2 points. Okay. However, we're going to use some new and fancy notation. So let me write the fancy notation down, and then you guys will look at it and go, oh, that's not so bad. Okay. The notation is f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. Now remember, we learned in class when we learned about functions that f of x is often interchangeable with y. When I see this f of x2, that means y2. That means if the x I'm using is x2, or my second value for x, I plug it into my function to find the y that goes with it. So notice this is exactly the same as the slope between 2 lines. It's just a new word, phrase for it. So number 6, and I really like number 6 because it becomes clear. It says find the average rate of change of the function from x1 to x2. Okay, they give us a function. F of x is equal to 5x plus 7, and they give us x1 is equal to negative 1 and x2 is equal to 0. The first thing I have to do is find the y values. Okay, so sometimes it just makes it easier if you have a little xy table over here. So x1 is negative 1 and x2 is 0. So to find f of x1 is finding f of negative 1. I plug negative 1 into my function, and remember, everywhere we see an x, we replace it with a negative 1. 5 times negative 1 plus 7. That's negative 5 plus 7, which is 2. So the y that goes with it is 2. Okay, next. F of 0 equals 5 times 0 plus 7, which is 7. Hey, I can do that. 7. And now the average rate of change is the slope between those 2 points. Now, if you pause and think about this for a minute, you already know what the answer is. Okay? So let me just say that, and now let's do the work. So y2 is 7 minus y1 is 2 over x2 is 0 minus a negative 1 equals 5 over 1, or 5, which is the slope of the line that we started with, which it better be if I'm finding the slope between 2 points on that line, right? Okay, so see, average rate of change is the slope between 2 lines. I mean, two points. The slope between 2 points. Now, the reason we start calling it average rate of change instead of just slope is because of problems like number 7. This time, same instructions. Find the average rate of change between these 2 points. The function is not a line. Negative 3x squared minus x. That is a quadratic function. We learned in class last time that the graph of that is a parabola. And so it does not have a constant slope like a line is. A line is the same steepness no matter where you are on that line. A parabola, the steepness is different depending on where you are. So an average rate of change is just measuring the steepness at a particular place on that parabola. Okay? So what's our x1? x1 is 5, x2 is 6. Remember, the first thing you have to do is find the y's that go with those x's. So I make my xy table. X1 is 5 and x2 is 6, and I plug them into my function to find the y's. So f of 5 is equal to negative 3 times 5 squared minus 5. And let's see, let's do the math. That's 25, because remember you got to square first. Don't forget your order of operations. Let's see, times negative 3 would be negative 75, minus 5 would be negative 80, right? Someone better double check, but I'm pretty sure that's negative 80. Okay, the next one, f of 6. F of 6 is going to be negative 3 times 6 squared minus 6 equals, alright, I think I need my calculator for this one. So 6 squared is 36 times negative 3 is negative 108 minus 6 is negative 114. Oops, I lost a 1. And now I find the slope between those 2 points. So negative 114 minus negative 80, watch your signs, over 6 minus 5 is equal to, well, that's going to be plus 80, right? And so I think we get 34 over 1, which is just 34. And so that's your final answer, the 34, the average rate of change. Okay, there's one more problem on the handout. That's number 8. It's a word problem, but it's very easy. They're asking you to find the average rate of change. And this time they're just giving you some times and some depths. So I would like you guys to do that one on your own. And that is it for 2.4. That's all there is. Parallel perpendicular lines, average rate of change. Those are the big ideas, and interpreting what slopes mean. But we can do that anytime we see a line. All right?